So I realized I've never done an actual video on these boots. I think I did a couple shorts when I got them, or a couple when I got them, and maybe one or two walking, but felt like probably should talk about it. And this last, the 602M. So yeah, that's what today is. These are the Parkhurst Niagara, and this is what they called Anise Kudu, this leather. It has, as you can see, tons of character, kind of insane. The heel counter cover, I mentioned that, I think, one of those shorts. It's pretty insane. It's a nice looking boot. It's a mock toe, or I guess a mock toe, where it's just a single piece vamp that they stitch the mock into. It's not two pieces like a true mock toe, like, I don't know, like a Red Wing 875, or even Truman's mock toes are real mock toes. This is a pseudo, similar to the Alden Indy, the 405, 403, all the Indy versions, Nicks. A few other companies do the fake mock toe, I guess you'd call it. But it's cool. The boots are obviously, as you can imagine, quite different, being Kudu. The texture and kind of character, whatever you want to call it, is quite different. They have, you've probably seen this already, but it's Parkhurst's own version, like a proprietary commando. I think they like laser etch their logo out of the bottom there. That's what it looks like. There's sort of like an interesting texture you see on it. And then these lugs, I don't know, well, it's going to show up in the camera, but these lugs are very sharp, at least when they were brand new. Obviously, there's a little bit of wear on them now, but they're a very sharp lug. I thought just something I was noticing versus rounded off. I saw a video of a guy talking about Truman's new Commando sole, and he's saying it's kind of more sharper and a harder compound than the original Commando. My only older pair, if it's not old, that's Commando, is that gum kind of rubber, so it's different. I don't know. I don't know if I can tell the difference, honestly, but I saw that guy talking about it. Let me see if I can get that up closer. You might be able to see what's going on there with the texture. The comfort on these is interesting. Let me show you guys something real quick. If you can read that, it says made in Spain. So these are made in Spain. If I understand correctly, Parkhurst used to be using American factories, sort of like OSB does, Oak Street Bootmakers, but since then, it's all now, since COVID, it's now Spain, I think, is their stitch down, and maybe Portugal. Sorry, Spain is their Goodyear well, maybe Portugal, I think I heard, is their stitch down boots. But the owner, company is, based out of, I think, New York. It's actually seems to be one dude, from what I can tell, and he's doing these runs through these factories. This last, I read their sizing, and they claimed to size it the same as your True Balance last, your Alden 405, 403, your Indies. I don't agree with that, so I bought the 11.5. I think it's an E width, they claim. I don't think it really is. It's kind of narrow, but I believe they call this an E. But I originally ordered the 11.5 based off that. I have two pairs of Alden 405s. I've done a video on them before in 11.5 D. Well, it's 11.5 BD is technically, it's a combination last where it's a B heel and a D ball toe area, and it's pure comfort. It is the most comfortable shoe I've ever had. Build quality, price, there's problems elsewhere, but their last, they got it. It's nice enough looking. I don't think it looks amazing visually, but it's nice enough. But it's super comfortable. This is not a True Balance. So anybody who says it's like a True Balance, and I brought out one of my Aldens specifically for this. So this is a True Balance, and this is a 602M, and I think it should be pretty obvious how much bigger the toe box. It's not even, I don't even know where you want to call it, the ball, but even extending to the toe box, the True Balance is significantly wider, and it's actually a lot flatter. So that's something else interesting about this 602M. It's not only long and kind of pointy, but it has a really tall toe. Look how much narrow, or lower, I should say, the True Balance is. It's pretty significant. I wonder about the Grantstone brass boot, and if it's like this, everybody says how long it is, but it also has a very tall looking toe. It looks taller than the 602M, and so that kind of makes me weary about sizing. But this is 11.5 BD, or you just buy 11.5 D, but it's technically a combo BD last. This is perfect. I do wear it with like a light boot sock, you call it, not a thick boot sock, not like a darn tough, but thicker than my thin socks. If I wear these with a thin dressy sock, they are a little bit loose. However, I wonder if I would have had toe push issues and need to wear a thin sock if I had gone down to 11. I got these, the first pair, and was like, this fits perfect. Like, I wouldn't want to change it. When I bought these in 11.5, I was like, whoa, these are freaking enormous. They are really long and just big. So I'm like, well, I think I was wearing a thin sock. Let me throw on a little bit of a thicker sock. So I threw on like those Dickies kind of work socks, the ones I actually wear my Albans with. And they felt a little bit better, but they still felt too long. It kind of helped fill out the volume everywhere else. So I didn't feel like I was swimming in them as much with the thicker sock, but they still felt a little bit big, and they still felt super long. So I contacted the owner. Fortunately, that's really cool. Forgetting the gentleman's name, but it's literally like the guy of the brand. You email them and you get him. And I just had a couple back and forth emails, and he's like, yeah, you probably should go down. I was like, I think I should go down to the 11. He agreed. He immediately dispatched a new pair, which was like, their customer service. I'll give Parkhurst credit. Like, that customer service experience was like an A+. He immediately sent out, like the next day or whatever, a new pair, an 11, and just told me that you need to return these, and here's the label. Sorry, not these, the other pair. So, like, I'm sure he would have charged me if I never returned the first pair, but without me spending any more money off of my credit card, he already sent this 11 pair out, and obviously I mailed back the 11.5. But that showed kind of them trusting the customer and wanting to resolve the issue immediately. And definitely this is the better fit. So obviously I wear these with those kind of thinner socks I prefer. I could probably get away. I think I did try this on with a darn tough lightweight, and it felt okay. Probably fine. I didn't wear them walking around, so I'm kind of a little hesitant on that claim. But they didn't feel wrong. But I definitely wear them with a lighter sock, even like a dressier sock. Which, I don't know. This shape is kind of a dressier boot to me, sort of like, even with this leather, similar to the 405. Not dress, but dressier than the work stuff from P&W and that kind of vibe. But it's possible I could put a slightly thicker sock, but this just feels more of like a business casual, kind of business dressy boot. But it's still a little narrow, so definitely my big toe is hitting right here. It's not painful like some boot, those Truman 79s I talk about that are vicious, or the Wesco M1339. That literally murders your big toe. Same with the Packer Last from Nick's. But I don't have any toe push. Big toe or little toe, there's plenty of room. Big toe, I don't even know if it's touching the side, honestly, with the 405. This is a 405, but the True Balance in 11.5 D. It's just like perfection. Whereas this toe cuts over more, I guess. Maybe this is a little bit more oblong shaped here versus this is getting a little more pointy. and that's the difference, you know. Aesthetically, I think this is actually kind of a really good looking boot. The shape is great, so I'll give him credit. I cannot remember the individual's name, the guy who runs this company, but visually, I would say the 602M last is a very nice looking last. It's, as I said, kind of a dressier boot, but it's also kind of tough looking. The high toe volume and with the point makes it kind of look a little bit more tough, a little like the brass boot, you know, like brass. I think this is a better shape than the brass boot, at least from the photos I've seen of the brass boot. Not that that one looks bad, but this is a nice looking last. It's a nice looking boot. It's just, you know, the fit's not perfect. So I tried the two sizes that would be best for me, and neither is perfect, which is unfortunate. Maybe the perfect fit for me would have been this hypothetical 11.25, but you know, nobody does that. So anyway, this is better. I hope it will stretch over time. The only issue, you know, this is a elastic, so I don't think it's really going to stretch. But I would still take this and a little bit of squeeze over the swimming in it, and maybe trying to have to wear like super thick winter socks, which then makes it unusable in other seasons. That the 11.5 was just too long and a little bit too big. So otherwise, I mean, it's a kind of basic boot. It's not gusseted, which I actually kind of like, honestly. I mean, I guess you could maybe call this semi-gusseted. Yeah, I guess you call it semi-gusseted. This gusseted up to the top eyelet. I don't necessarily like the full gusset boots, because at least the ones that aren't meant to be crazy PNW, like fold over. Truman's the worst with this. It seems like they where they fold over on the side is right on that side of my foot where the whatever, not your ankle, but that ball or whatever of your where your foot kind of connects to your leg, or I don't remember what it's called. It sticks out right there, and if the fold's on top of it, this is what happened with that Truman pair in the '79 horse rump, because the horse rump was stiff and hard. It's just super uncomfortable. So that boot, I had to cut it out. If you remember that video I posted, or the short, I had to cut it out. Being a semi-gusseted, there's no issue at all in this boot, so that's nice. And you know, with the kind of dressier vibe, I think a full gusset would sort of be stupid anyway. Hooks and eyelets seem fine. There is a little bit of a misalignment, you know, just because I'm kind of, I guess, a little bit closer attention to some of this stuff. One of these boots, the eyelet is kind of out of alignment with the rest. I don't think there's anything wrong with these speed hooks. They actually seem like the way they're kind of folded, they're probably pretty strong, but they just don't seem as tough as like the ones you see on the stuff in the PNW space. Those, or even the Truman ones, where they're like almost like a solid piece. This looks more like a stamped thing. However, you know, you squeeze them, they're strong. The ones on those Aldens are cheap crap. You know, the Alden ones, you literally, they get smashed. I can actually, looking at my boot over there, I can see one of them is smashed. So these are really cheap crap, and you can see this one is kind of, it's been squished in a little bit. So sometimes you stick your finger in there and you got to kind of pull them out. And then you watch Steve at Beto's Leatherworks. He's replaced these, I think, on his Alden sometimes, because they've literally just folded back and forth so many times they break off. Those are cheap crap. These are definitely better. And then they have a decent little, the rivet or whatever you want to call it on the back. Has an interesting like starish pattern, but the cool part is it's not going to rip it's like a finished cap. The ones you see in the P&W and a lot of boots are just like a frayed out metal like star pattern thing, and it just tears the hell out of the tongue. Or if you use kilties on those, it rips the kilties to hell. This is a much nicer setup, so it's give and take. You know, they don't seem maybe as tough, but they definitely seem tough, and then they're nicer and cleaner. I don't know if that's just what this Spanish factory uses, but that's just an observation I made. The storm welt is kind of nice. Actually, I think this is a split reverse welt, right, where it kind of has that cut up flap. Has a very clean look, and when you have the split reverse or storm welts, they hide any potential welt stitching holes like you see on other boots. I think they should just always use these. I think they're regular welts. And even some of my Trumans, you know, you see some of those welt stitch holes around the toe especially. It's just, this looks better. I do notice one thing. I noticed this when I first got them. It's almost like the leather they use for the heel stack, and then the midsole is like a darker color than the leather of the welt. It's like a different type. Maybe this is like an oak bark and this isn't because it's just a welt, but it ends up making it look a little weird. You see like multiple colors, like a rainbowish effect. It doesn't matter. It's just something I noticed. When they get really dirty, you probably can't even tell. But yeah, it's unfortunately because the fit is kind of meh for me. They're kind of a one and done. But I don't see myself kind of jumping to sell these either. They're very cool. This leather is very neat, and they kind of serve a purpose in my kind of boot arsenal of like I wouldn't be like these and my Aldens, like I could to me wear them with slacks and go to like a slightly nicer occasion, not dressed up because they're not, it's not like a suit type of. I mean, honestly, if I don't have a gray suit anymore, but if I had a gray suit, I think you could rock it with these. I think these kind of have a dressier vibe, but they're still tough enough that you wear them with jeans. They look totally good. I've worn these to the office a few times, the rare times I go into the office these days, because they feel appropriate there. What else? The box, and take this with a grain of salt. I bought these last year. I don't know if things have changed, but they use something kind of, I guess maybe they're trying to be green, but the shipping box is actually, it's like one and the same, sort of like P&W, but it's also kind of like plain. So it has this interesting outer flap, and all you get inside is a little note, little card from them. Thank you. You get a couple unlabeled boot bags. I mean, a boot bag is a boot bag, so I still appreciate this. And then they give you a flat, second set of laces, I should say. I can't remember if any laces were installed when I got them. Maybe I think I did take a unboxing video with my phone, maybe, of the first pair, the 11 and a half pair. Maybe I'll splice that into this at some point. But yeah, it's fine. It's just, I guess I get used to some of the other brands who have boxes that look kind of nice. Truman's boxes are nice. Viberg has really nice boxes. Oak Street, I had that one pair of boots. I sold those actually. Those have a really nice box too. P&W, they're not really that nice, but they're a good shipping box. And then, trying to think who else. Alden's boxes are kind of trash. They're kind of like a normal old shoe box, but they're really flimsy and cheap. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. I guess the one other comment I have with Lass is I was talking to a few folks individuals on YouTube who post videos like me about their boots, and I don't know, I don't think it was Ashwin. I'm trying to remember who it was, but they were talking about, maybe it was him. Someone was talking about the stitch down boot that Parkhurst makes and that new 618 last, and basically that it's narrower in the toe and longer. And I was like, okay, well, those stitch down builds look cool, but I'm not going to even bother because if it's narrower than the 602M, it's completely a no-go. And speaking of that, I believe what I read about the last, they have some descriptions on their Parkhurst website. I think they said the 602M has a slight more room in the ball than the 602, their older last, which I don't even know if they make that boots on the old last, but that also means I can't get that last. So this is probably their best last for a foot like mine, and it's not even that it's not perfect. I don't know if any last is perfect besides the True Balance, but it's not great. I guess it's fine. It's better than crappy last like the 79 or garbage last like the H&W from Nick's, but it's not great. Maybe it's like the 55 where I found 55 and 11.5D is okay. It's just kind of meh. But it's a cool boot. Don't regret buying it. Something different. I don't have any other. This is, I guess I could say this is like a slightly more rugged Alden style boot. So it's probably better build. I mean, I would just assume that. I can't really say that conclusively without, I don't know. I'm trying to remember if Roseanne will ever cut one of these in half, but I assume it's a little bit better built. It's nice looking. Maybe I would even give this the the heads up. I really like my 405s, but I'm biased because of the comfort. But this is kind of a cooler looking boot, and it's still in that kind of dressier phase. And I don't have much else in my collection at this point like that. All my stuff is more kind of casual, worky stuff, just because that's the aesthetic I'm enjoying these days. And you could blame it all on the Red Wing 875. I think that's kind of where I kind of flared up and went down this crazy path I'm on. But I dug that. Or maybe it goes back to the Iron Ranger, actually, that I had before that. And the Beckman, the old Beckman on the 8 last. Those kind of iconic work shapes that Red Wing did maybe is what kind of sent me down that path. And this is different, so I guess if you don't have big toe push issues, this could be a good boot for you. And the price is pretty fair. Obviously it's not made in USA, so it's going to be a little cheaper. Then again, I don't know. I feel like Spain, you'd think would be still. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know about their socio-economic situation in Spain. I know Portugal is cheaper manufacturing. I know some camera brands in Germany that started doing production in Portugal because it's noticeably cheaper than Germany for a cheaper price. But I don't know about Spain. Maybe it is cheaper labor. It's not going to be as cheap as some other countries, but you get a good boot for a fair price. It's definitely, there's no obvious issues with them, and will probably serve you well. The fit kind of made me a little cold feet on it, I guess. But yeah, Parkhurst, Niagara, Anise Kudu, really cool leather. Definitely love the leather. And 602M last, visually very nice. Comfort wise, it's okay. That's it. Cheers.